Hey, and welcome back to section 31 and a half. Today, we're going to have a lovely chat with you Star Trek fans know best as Lieutenant Tavine from Star Trek Picard. My DC nerd in me, knows her best as Hammerhead from Doom Patrol. But we are happily having the wonderful and amazing Stephanie Czajkowski here with us in section 31 and a half. How are you, Steph?
Hi, friends. Thanks. I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We're going to dive into a lot of your wonderful acting repertoire. Your resume is quite large. We love it. You did some video games. You're in some of my wrestling stuff that I love. So we're going to go into all of that. But, I have to start off with my wrestling niche because I am a fan of The Rock, and I was watching Young Rock, and you got to play one of the most groundbreaking persons, in the WWE, and that being Chyna. So, did you have to use your combat training to embody this character, this very powerful, strong woman, or was that all just okay? Well, let me look at a couple of tapes and give it a go.
It was just fully like farm strong, 5'10", used to being in Wisconsin doing yard work. Now, part of it was the fact that just I am clearly not nearly as built as Chyna was. I don't think anybody was, frankly. I mean, I'm in pretty good shape. Years ago, I was much more muscular, and it's a weird thing, but it is. She has kind of crossed my path a lot since being a student at NYU, because not to age myself or whatever, but WWE and her trajectory of being the icon that she was and when I was going to acting school. And as somebody who was 5'10", and at the time I had long brown hair, and I was my background is German, Hungarian, Polish. I'm full on farm strong. I'm just thick and built.
Yeah.
So coming into because her height was in mid late 90s,
right?
And coming up at that age, being 17, seeing her was oh well, there's somewhere to fit in this world on television, because you didn't see women like her on TV screens. She was kind of, so in its own right, it was kind of a bucket list thing, because it was both a bucket list thing and they had to cast in 4 days. So I had these things working for me, because they dropped what's called the breakdown, and I saw it, and they had aged it much young, not severely, but pretty younger than I am. And I just reached out to my manager and was like, look, they're trying to do this in 5 days. And the thing about being my height, being my size, being strong, there's that thing in Hollywood. They say that you always see the same people. When they have strong, tall ladies at auditions, there's a group of us that see each other. But when you have to do Chyna, you've cut out lots of us, because a lot of the girls I see are of Spanish, are Hispanic, are Black. So suddenly you're oh, it just got that much more narrow.
Yeah.
So it was literally one of those things that I was dudes used to hit on me in the gym and be like, you could be a WD, you look kind of like Chyna.
Oh.
And which is not as much of a turn on as one would think.
Doesn't work, dudes.
Generally, telling women that they're really big is not a good way to go. I'm just saying. So literally, it came down, and I managed to get an self-tape for it. I mean, my hair has grown back from Tavine, and it's and I'm dyeing it. So I went and I bought a wig, because I was wow. I went and bought this cheap wig that was so that they could envision me in the same way. And then the rest of it was hair and makeup. It was fully hair and makeup. I mean, I only do I didn't do a lot of, I only did, the low blow. Right. So it wasn't, it was that. And then it was me watching that match over and over and over again to get kind of the physicality, and to watch as many, videos as I could about her, because the big thing about, I think, any, Star Trek, Doom Patrol, all the things, and specifically WWE, is when you have an iconic character, when you have an iconic franchise, you have to take great care, in my opinion, of not trying to make the fans happy, but you don't want them to be mad at you. Like, you don't want to go in making fun of someone. Like, you can't be them. So you want to capture the essence and do as much of an homage to them as you can so that you're happy with your work and that they're not, raging you on the interwebs telling you look like the Wish version of Chyna.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
You're going to run those trolls anyway.
Well, I mean, you're going to get that anyway. And no, I mean, they did that a lot with the casting on the show. And but they did not call me out specifically, which I'm like, fuck yes. Like, I mean, just because, I mean, there were not, you had Cindy, you have, I can't remember, was it Becca playing Cyndi Lauper? But like, they only introduced Chyna in that one episode. Like, there were no other female wrestlers. So to a degree, it was just like, oh, fuck. But at the same time, because it was so fast, I was kind of like, fuck it. I don't know.
Low blow time.
Low blow time. I did cut my knuckle. So I got to bleed a little bit. I got a little color. Fully bona fide.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. You've lived the dream I've always wanted to as a little kid.
Right.
To be in the ring and get down.
Yeah. No,
right.
yeah.
Jace.
So I've obviously read a little bit of your bio, Stephanie. That kind of sussing it out.
Yeah,
doing a little bit of research.
That's right.
A couple of things that I found really cool about it was, obviously, we were talking about Trek, and I was saying that you've, like me, we had the same kind of, I feel like, a profound moment of the first time we went and saw a Star Trek movie, Star Trek the Motion Picture.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about your knowledge or your exposure to Trek when you were a kid?
My knowledge, all the knowledge from Trek that I got was mostly from my father. My dad, my late dad, he passed away in 2017. That's okay. You didn't do it. No. You did not do it.
No, I'm good like that.
You didn't do it. If you did, we would hunt you down. No. If you did, so when he went to night school. He graduated from college, but he had a full-time job, and I was a kid. Like, he graduated from college on my first Holy Communion, I think it was. Wow. And so when he was doing, because I was raised Catholic, that's a question about now, but sidebar. But on weekends, he would do his homework, and he would sit in the living room, and reruns of Star Trek would play. And so I remember sitting with him watching, the reruns of the original series. And then when the movie came out, I was old enough to go, and I remember being in the movie theater, and I remember my brother was born and just learned how to walk, and he was like running down the aisles, but we waited in line to go see this movie. And I remember Spock, and I remember, Illyria, and I remember seeing it. And then from there, it was just every time a new movie came out, we went to see it. My mother was a seamstress and eventually a costume designer.
Oh, wow. And
when The Voyage Home came out, that was my first experience with Trekkies and cosplay, because she ended up working for a costume shop, and there were a number of Trek cosplayers who ordered that Admiral, is it the Admiral outfit or is Commander outfit, the maroon one with the neck,
Monster Maroon,
the Monster Maroon. Those shits are hard to make, dude. But I remember her making these custom these custom jackets. And so it was very ingrained in there. When The Next Generation came around, my dad was like, holy shit, and loved Worf. Because he was he was about he was Midwestern, 6'4", big burly guy, kind of angry. So he so identified with Worf, and pretty much was just, anytime it came out, he wasn't somebody who would go to conventions or anything, but he was a fan through and through. So that was my entree to that. Oh, to that point, I'm going to try to make this really short. In 2015, I used to sell stuff on eBay. Oh. And I used to go to, I kind of still do, but I used to go to the there was a thing called the Goodwill outlet where you could buy stuff by the pound.
Yeah.
And my dad, and my dad had recently retired and he moved to Vegas. And he would come out, and every time we'd go out, I was like, "You have to see this," and we'd like do this stuff. So I took him to the Goodwill outlet because the fact that like he was amazed that I could buy something for like $3 and sell it for $40. Like he was just like he couldn't comprehend.
Yeah.
So I brought him with me, and while he was there, he like found some pants. He was like, "Look," and he got this, and he found this Armani Exchange, beige linen jacket that was his size, like it fit him to a T. And it had a stain on the cuff. And he's like, "Well, I don't really know." And I was like, "Look, if we can get the stain out, you paid like $1.25 for it. Like if you don't get it out, we can, give it back to Goodwill." So we brought it home and he's trying it on and he puts his hand in the inside pocket and he pulls out a piece of paper for a breakdown for an audition for Michael Dorn.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's crazy.
It is Michael Dorn's motherfucking jacket. So sorry about the swearing.
God.
So this,
I want to know what he spilled on the jacket now. I want to know what he spilled on there.
So I think it's coffee.
Blood wine.
So he's like 60. How old is he now? He's 65, I think. He is out of control, or 67. He's out of control, fucking excited. He's just like, holy shit, this is Michael Dorn's jacket. Now, he has jumped back on. Now, we also must put into the record that this was a man whose entire wardrobe, now that he is retired, and slightly before, is sweatpants, jorts, lots of jorts, and Hawaiian shirts. Like that's it.
My
like
kind of guy. I like this guy.
So he gets this jacket, and my mother and he divorced a long time ago, and he's in Vegas, and he's on Match.com, and every date he goes on is like he wears the jacket.
Oh,
and he's like,
good luck, jacket.
He's like, "Do you know?"
He doesn't, does he?
It's like his litmus test. He's like, "Do you know Michael Dorn, Worf from Star Trek?"
Yeah.
This is his jacket.
Oh my God. I love
Does it ever work for him?
I don't know. So he does it all the way through. He like goes back. It's my brother's 40th birthday. We have a he goes back to his Christmas party for the firm he left in Chicago. It's like 20 degrees below zero, or it's like 20 degrees out.
Yeah.
And he's wearing the linen jacket. So he can show everybody that store. So when I got on Picard and I found out Michael was coming back, I was like, "Oh my God, I have to find him. I have to tell him his story."
Yeah.
And so we just never, while shooting, we never crossed paths.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I told the prosthetic trailer, I made a video for them to send that no one I think ever did because it felt weird maybe. So at the premiere, after the show, I went up and I walked up and I said, "Michael, we never got to meet, but I got to say that entrance in episode, that first entrance in episode was." It was. I was like, it was so fucking cool. Yeah, and he's like, "Wow, do you want to tell me?" So he was talking about like why they did it, and I said, "I actually, if it's okay with you, I have a very quick story that I kind of need to tell you." And so, because I had practiced it by telling everybody else, right? And I always started after the first time. I forgot to say that my dad had passed away. And that of all the clothes we kept, we still have the jacket.
Oh, there you go. Well, of course, give it back to him.
Right? So exactly. So I tell him the whole story. I tell him the whole story, and he was like, "Do you have a picture?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I show him the pictures because I've got like a whole set of pictures because it's due to be a TikTok at some point.
Oh.
And he goes, "I remember that jacket."
Oh, no way.
That was a good jacket. I was a bigger guy then, but I was going, I'm like, "I know my dad was a bigger guy." And he's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Well, you're not as big, but we got the stain out. So if you ever want it back, I got it." But also I have to thank you because that gave my father such joy in a way that I never suspected until he died. So thank you for indulging me. It's a good story.
That's a great story. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Lit up. My mom's watching. I'm She's gonna love that. My mom had the Michael Dorn crush for years.
Oh,
And then when I gave her the Paramount Plus on her iPad, she goes, oh, "Look how sexy he is, old like me."
He is sexy at his age.
oh, he is
Can't
full
deny
on. Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
He is a
thing going.
he is a tall drink of water. Let me tell you.
Yeah. Oh my god.
I was like, someone asked me once, they're like, what would you come back as? And I'm like, if you could come back as something, I'm like, Dorn's daughter? I don't know.
One of the kids that he abandoned, like Alexander.
Yeah.
Producer, anyway.
All right, Jace.
So, you were actually looking at your bio as I did my research here. You were actually on one of my. Yes, I did research.
I was looking at my bio. Oh my goodness, no, I'm kidding.
You appeared on one of my favorite TV shows a long time ago called "I Didn't Know I Was Pregnant."
Oh my god, I was hoping you would say that.
Because I loved this show because
it's so good.
You would turn it on and be like, how do these people not know they're
I
pregnant?
know,
And
right?
you would watch like 20 episodes in one sitting while you were home at lunch, and I just loved it. And I was wondering if you could tell us about your experience on this groundbreaking television series.
I know, in its own right. It's so funny because my husband insists I had met him just before shooting that. And he insists, like, as I've gotten bigger and bigger things, he is always like, you cannot take that off your resume. You can't. It has to stay there. It has to be there. Like, don't get rid of it. So it was, because I was aware of it too. I wasn't union. And I remember going in, and I had originally gone in to play one of the women who didn't know they were pregnant. And so basically, it's mostly improv. You go in, you pretend to feel like you're sick, and then have a baby, and then they decide if you're good enough or not. I apparently was very striking, but they found that I would be better as a paramedic, which I feel like was foreshadowing for other jobs that were to come. So it's a shoot that was so, because it was non-union and it was for was it TLC or Animal? It was TLC. So it's just really, it's really run and gun. It's like, we're here. Here's a baby. Everything is fake. They do it as fast as you can. And then when the baby gets delivered, the baby's there for like 2 seconds and you get to hold the baby up and you're like, here's the baby. And then you move on.
Didn't you get to cut, it says, well, you got to cut the rubber umbilical cord?
I did. I got to cut a fake umbilical cord. It was very realistic.
Your husband's right. Never take that off your resume. That is a point of pride.
Well, it's
I
also
loved that series. It was
well, and because Jason, it's not. How many people don't know they're effing pregnant? Like, and you're just kind of like, how do they find this? Like, you're just like, how do you not know this?
Yeah.
But they had how many seasons?
I know somebody who didn't know they were pregnant.
No way, really?
Yeah.
I don't want to spill too much tea here because it's somebody else's private business. But
right.
In her words, she said, I was laying on the couch and I felt like I had to fart, and I farted and a baby came out.
Holy shit.
Wow.
Like, that's crazy.
That's
really
pretty
pretty nuts. My wife is produced.
We calling the baby fart baby. It's fart baby.
Yeah. I'm sure my wife has had 2 babies would turn around and go, I don't think in her experience it was just, I feel like I got to pass gas and then have a kid.
I
There's
know.
usually hours of excruciating like labor, and that is weird.
She is swearing at you over and over again.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I actually got to cut a real umbilical cord. So I actually
did you?
did that in real life. I got to pull my daughter out. My son was 6 weeks premature. And then I remember going to cut the cord. And for some reason, I thought I was funny. So I turned to the lady who was help delivering. And I said, do you have those big scissors like they used in opening of shopping malls? She just looks at me. Doesn't even answer me. Like, it's because it's like 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I get it. Here we go. Thank you. Tough room.
It's just,
Yeah.
you don't do that, sir.
I feel like you got to do that every so often, though. I mean, maybe I would say I've been in a number of medical situations where there's things being poked and prodded.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like, and we always lead with humor because we feel like we get better customer service.
You want to be liked, don't you, in those situations?
Right.
And it's like, it's weird because people are poking your body. So your kind of humor helps in regards to trying to make the situation more comfortable in an awkward situation.
Yeah, I would, if I were the maternity nurse, I would have laughed my ass off. But it was 2:00 in the morning. So I say, Jace, I say funny.
Hey, look,
I would have laughed.
Yeah.
I would have laughed.
Yeah, at least.
Well, I get a
Thumbs
good
up for me.
reaction years later when I tell the story. So it
Exactly,
was worth the
right?
investment.
There you go.
Yeah.
Ribbon cutting.
I've got to ask this, Stephanie. I ask this of every guest that we have because I'm fascinated by actors.
Yeah.
Because the question, as a father of a daughter, I go, you think about their career and go, why acting? Why put yourself through a scenario where you know only 1%? I think it's a little bit higher now, but 1% are
It's
employed
2%, I
at
think.
any one
Yeah.
time. 2% now.
2%.
You're constantly having to go to auditions and prove yourself and all that. Yet people are drawn to it, and you've made a career out of it. What was the driving factor? What was the thing that went, I've just got to do this?
Reportedly, it started very early. I mean, literally, it was kind of one of those things where my mom said that I went to my cousin's wedding. Not wedding. She was like 3. It wasn't a wedding. We're not in that kind of family.
Not yet.
Sorry. It was
down south. Yeah.
It was her birthday, and it was a bunch of little kids, and I got up and just started singing I got up and sang for them. So apparently it was something that was I just innately wanted to do. And from there it was, I saw reruns of the Brady Bunch, and I wrote a letter. I made my mom, when I was in kindergarten, write a letter to the affiliate, the ABC affiliate. They wrote back and were like, "We should do acting classes or whatever." And it was just kind of in there. Like, I just decided.
You're a big theater kid, weren't you?
Yeah. I was pretty. I mean, I went to NYU. I ended up auditioning and going to Tisch for undergrad, mostly because I didn't realize that the difference between undergrad and grad schools in terms of trying to get work as an actor, because my dad was a mechanical engineer and my mom was a seamstress. There's been points in my life, like especially once I graduated from college, where the business becomes frustrating, and you always think you have to be doing all the time, and your bandwidth doesn't allow for that kind of. And I think I was smart in doing it, but there was a point, I think, right out of college where I took the summer off, kind of. I said, you know what? I'm just going to not do anything for the summer. And if I don't miss it, then I won't do it anymore.
It's a good little litmus test.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, because I think sometimes in creative endeavors, specifically depending upon where the impetus comes from, mine was self-motivated. Mine was not, I often wish my aunt was a lot more get up there. I sometimes wish I had more of a stage mother. But she was not. My parents were very much like, if you want to do this, great, you can do it. But they didn't discourage. Well, my dad discouraged me, but because he was very practical. But my mom was like, go ahead. We will support you. We just want to be happy. And I think part of it for me was my parents got divorced when I went to college. And my mom, who did not graduate college, who was a seamstress, who was really skilled, just knew how to hustle. Like, she knew how to she became, and this is not to speak ill of my dad, they got married, and that's conversations about like, how do you get married and blah, blah, blah. They were married for 17 years. But he had a very specific linear way of looking at things, and she was more creative and open. And I found that when she left, she didn't make as much money as he did initially, but then she became a massage therapist. She figured it out, and she was incredibly happy. And so for me, I mean, there's a certain amount, like, I got to know my rent's paid. I got to know my rent's paid. I got to know my shit is taken care of. Yeah. And then everything else is gravy. So I've done the same thing. Like, I've had many side jobs. Like, I've had a career, but I didn't get to a place where finally the balance of income switched until 2018. Like it's been, you know, it's some people, it just like, I know people who come out of college and book a series regular. That has not been my path. You know, that has not been my path.
And it's generally not most people's path, is it, that work in the field?
No.
What I find about you guys, generally as actors, and I'm just going you guys, is the extreme amount of resilience. You have internal resilience to know that you've got to be patient, you've got to work it, you know. And I think what's interesting about your career is because you have highs and lows, it's constantly testing your own resolve on how committed you are to the career. So I find actors generally who have been in the, because you're the same age as me, we're Generation X.
Yes.
Still the best generation there is.
I'm
You know,
You're just right.
Silence.
Yeah, but
Joe, you feel like
people.
you feel like you're right on the cusp, Joe. You feel like you can be invited.
We'll let you in on this conversation. Yeah. But you know, I mean, the resilience that actors have, I'm always so impressed by it. I've always like, as someone who's a fan of the arts, I'm a videographer. I'm not. Like, it's creative, but it's a different kind of avenue. Yeah. But it's. In regards to resilience, like, and doing that, you've kind of mentioned it. It took a long time, didn't it, before things started to spark for you?
Yeah. Well, and you know, and I think my special sauce, or my secret, not my secret, my special sauce, my in certain respects, I think my superpower is a little bit. I know a lot of people who just assumed they would be going on auditions with Angelina Jolie. Like, I think I think I'm very realistic about understanding the business part of it, which took a while to figure out how the business was. And for me, who is somebody who is really good at getting jobs. I've had lots of jobs, just like jobs, right? Dumb stuff. But I never looked down at myself for doing anything that wasn't acting, because you do what you need to do. Yeah. But also, I think I was aware that I never imagined, and I don't know if this limited me, because there's a whole lot of that shit being sold to actors too. It's your limiting belief about like this idea that somehow, and that's true to a degree, but I also realized it wouldn't necessarily be like you're a star, or you're like, you know what I mean? Like, and it's weird because when I booked these series of jobs that have led me to you guys, they literally felt like the easiest thing I've ever auditioned for. And that's insane to me. Wow. It's insane to me because it felt like I come from the Midwest. I come from that idea, Gen X, that things have to be hard in order to get that.
Pick up them bootstraps.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, you know.
Yeah, well, that's what they do with that generation. You know, we're tough. We're going to get on with it. Our parents were like, just at 9 o'clock, get out of the house. We'll see.
I know, right?
Just go and get up to adventures. You know.
Well, yeah.
Like, I'll let the other guys ask, but you have been involved in some pretty unbelievable franchises over there.
Yeah.
Looking at your IMDb page,
I know, like
so much
so
goodness you got there.
Yeah.
And you probably, if you had looked back at being that young 25-year-old kid, or how old would you were when you were first getting out of college?
Yeah.
You'd be pretty happy with your resume right about now, right? I mean, it took a little while, but some pretty damn impressive shows on that.
It's excellent.
Dude, that girl, that EMT from I Didn't Know I Was Pregnant is like, holy shit, what just happened?
I'll choose to think the EMT from Southland instead.
Oh God,
You know, you played an EMT a couple
I
of
did.
times.
Well, that's EMT. It was the trajectory was EMT, paramedic, cop, firefighter, pretty much any civil servant that carried a weapon.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. There you go. At least you got the camera.
Yeah. But to that point, like, I went to theater school. I wanted to do musical theater.
Oh.
And I'm having because of this pollen voicing.
Yeah.
But one of the nice things, but I also have that thing when it comes to being a creative, when it comes to being an actor, of I would rather be on set, like being doing something that isn't the main person, because doing it is the thing that brings you back. Like doing it is the thing that makes me want to do more. Right? It's like if you guys gamble at all, it's like when you win a little bit.
Oh,
like when you lose, you're like, but when you win, I mean, because that's what this career is.
Kick in, don't they?
Yeah.
That's what this career is a little bit like. And here's the thing: you can be totally down on yourself. You get an audition, and you're like, possibility. Like, you know.
Yeah, how do you manage that? Because when you go into these auditions, and I feel like I'm hogging this. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, like I got questions.
No, it's just like because you guys have to sign something, don't you? You go into audition, which is almost like this is the serious contract potentially. You sign that before you actually get the job, which is the weirdest thing, because who does that in any other industry but acting, where you get to see, if I actually get this, I'm going to be making this much one day.
Yeah.
And then for it to only be just taken away, by the fact that your eyebrows were a little bit different. You weren't the right, If you were 2 inches taller, you would have gotten the job. It's a weird thing, isn't it?
That I have not experienced yet. Let's say we're going to do, I've been in a place where it's basically I book it, they offer me, and then my agents negotiate. I mean, to that point, I can't even imagine the amount of stress that goes into that. Simply because I want to know what that's like. I'm going to say that I want to know what it's like, but I'm not sure how I deal with it. But it is that thing. I mean, that from that standpoint is simply from a like a producer standpoint. It's I need everybody to decide how much they're getting paid, because if everyone else shits the bed and they're the only choice, that gives them a lot more to leverage. You know what I mean? Like that's all. Like that decision is literally about how do I not have to pay more money than I've already agreed to?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to shut the fuck up now. Right? Just loudmouth. I'll just done for a little bit.
No. You're good. You're good, buddy. So I gotta know, you happen to be in one of my favorite video games that I actually go back and replay. That's the Old Republic. You got to be in both Star Wars and technically Star Trek, which I think is pretty cool.
I mean, my Star Wars, like I'm a face. Like let's make sure we're very clear about. They were revamping the look of Senya Tyrell, and so when they introduced that game, they had done all the big flippy stuff I'd love to take credit for, dude. But all the like up close face acting with Valen and everything was me, which was phenomenal. And I also wasn't allowed to talk about it, and I'm in Wikipedia, but I'm also just like, well, dude, and part of me was like, why didn't you let me be the voice? Especially in the trailer, she's just like, no.
Yeah, she had no. That was weird.
It was weird. It was a little weird. That was a little weird, and I mean, but it is what it is. Like it was my first experience doing motion capture, and they didn't, per usual, like even with Picard, they don't tell you what it is, and you don't know what it is until you have signed your NDAs. So maybe you don't get a bunch of money, but you signed all the stuff about, I will not talk about this, otherwise you can sue me. And then you go, and then you find out, and then you're like, oh shit,
Yeah.
So, but I was so impressed by the quality of that, like the mini little film, and just all, like, it was my first time doing motion capture, and just the quality of gaming and how games have changed, because I don't do a lot of games, but so
my millennial in me is like, oh, but I gave it, and I'm gonna like get a list of the games that I should go on.
Yeah, but I mean, I think I gave up after Legend of Zelda. No, I mean, but no, no,
you can't really get much better than that.
I mean, right? I mean, I went to Vegas and I killed at Frogger. I just want to say, but I mean, but just. It's phenomenal to me what can be done. Well, I've sat down to try to play like Call of Duty and stuff, and then I'm like, I don't know what I'm.
Yeah. But you also did another really cool video game that I saw clips of. I didn't actually get this one, and I'm just by looking it up. The zombie cardio game.
Oh yeah, that was
Ultimate Apocalypse Prep.
Yeah. That was
cool.
And what was so sad about that is, Xbox, it was this weird hybrid with and it was from people I knew I work for Equinox, which is a fitness company. So it was people I knew through the fitness industry who wanted to try and take fitness, make it more adaptable, and do it in a way that was more interesting for people at home. And then right after it launched, they decided to get rid of like all of it. Like Microsoft's like, man, we're not going to do that anymore.
Oh, you're kidding.
Yeah, I think if you have it, you can do it. But like, it was the one and only. And then it was like, well, my husband played a zombie in that though.
Oh, okay, that's cool. One of the guys you're pushing in the hallway.
Yeah, he's just like, oh, like.
Push. Hey, honey.
But it's like, I mean, you can on YouTube. They still have it on YouTube, and I think I have it on my reel, like a link to it, because it was the Microsoft. What was it called?
They had their own thing where it was a camera.
Yeah, it was all motion.
It was the motion.
Yeah, it was a motion.
Before VR took off, they had the motion capture.
Like for VR, it would be an amazing VR thing.
Maybe you should talk to them, bring it back.
Yeah, no, it's seriously just because. Well, I mean, they now work for Apple, etc. So who knows?
Oh wow! There you go.
But it's so funny because my only experience being like the lead of a fitness video is in that kind of format.
Yeah, I was watching it. I was like, oh man, I definitely would be dead.
Oh God,
I gotta really up my cardio.
Well, yeah, and it's one of those things where I'm like, anybody who does, like, if you ever take fitness videos or you ever do anything at home and whoever's standing there is like, everything's fine. I'm like, I'm just like, come on, man. Like,
yeah,
I once was in Bob Harper's video, and it was hard as hell because the better you get at something, the more effective it is immediately. And someone was just like, she's just acting, and I'm like, fuck off, dude.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, I'm trying to. Yeah, it was the Xbox thing. I can't remember what it's called now.
Yeah, it was like
Xbox One with the.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
I'm trying to remember.
But it was what was the thing? Yeah, but it was just and there's a bunch of stuff that does it now because you can do Dance Dance Revolution and it would just ID you, and they've got
Connect.
Thank you. Thank you.
Connect. I had one.
Yeah, they were good. They were really cool.
Yeah. You know, when I had that small stretch of I could do this, and then it became I'm just gonna go back on the video.
Yeah, 15 minutes later. Like,
15 minutes. Like I'm sweating a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Flash forward to Peloton. You know?
Yeah, right. Look out. And then from killer workouts to badass gray star heroes, your Hammerhead character is like super beloved, and there's a lot that goes into that character because you're a multiple personality of the other character.
Right.
And you got to wear the coolest outfit, be badass. You kick the robot's ass. They're like super powerful, super strong, super durable. Like, is it easier to play that badass because your life experiences kind of leave you into this this persona of I got this and I'm going to take everything on. And I feel like that's one of the things that gets you these types of roles. Is because you have this persona.
Yeah, I mean, definitely anything that's like, regardless of what age range it is, as long as they're like strong and intimidating or physical, like I will get an audition for it. Like, just by the nature of it. I think in particular with Hammerhead, that was a confluence of a lot of things. That was stature. It was. I also happened to have a completely bald head at the time. Like, it was so many things, but also. It's interesting to what I find is I don't have a problem with anger. Like I don't have a problem being someone who expresses anger and is very physical in that way that in film and television, a lot of times women in life have a hard time, I guess, expressing in the same way. So that has always been a thing that's like, oh, she's like angry and physical. And I'm like, yeah. There's a reason. I'm like, there's a reason my dad identified with Worf, older Worf. Yeah. Like that comes to me very naturally. Yeah. So it's an easy thing to get into. The nice thing about Hammerhead is, as I started working on it, even though I was a variation of, I was one of the Janes.
Yeah, you were Jane's other personalities because she was
Yeah,
split,
yeah.
had all these, like she had a
Yeah,
wig
I was, because I was a multiple, I was, there's argument like maybe second or third, who knows? No, I mean, it was always Jane. It's always Jane. And then I was like the one who'd come out and like beat people up.
right.
But the nice thing about being in the underground is you got to look at how did all these different personalities interact with each other and
Right.
why are they doing it? And, I think oftentimes with this kind of role, not a little bit with Tavine, is because I've experienced anger myself in my family, just people not knowing what to do with their anger, that I enjoy looking at characters who could very easily be one note and just be like, I'm just fucking angry and have no bottom to what it is. Like the nice thing about, Hammerhead is she gets to be that version of us that has arguments with everyone and is just like, fuck it, I'm kicking your ass. Like, gets to act out in a way that each of us had that little part that we want to when we're having like that argument with somebody that we should have had in the moment, all of those things. She gets to be the embodiment of that. And that's kind of cool.
Yeah. One of the things about Doom Patrol is one of my favorite DC transitions from comic to film or TV.
Oh, yeah.
Because it dealt with a lot of like childhood traumas, abuse, and parental issues. And there was just so much. It was so deep. And for DC, DC was usually like, I'm Superman. I'm going to save the day. And I'm going to go home, Yeah. But that got into a lot of the darker stuff, almost like Batman.
Yeah.
All those layers of human experience. And I thought that was a massive job. And you killed it.
Thank you. Yeah. I think the writers, I think the source material, I think Grant Morrison is phenomenal. Like Happy is one of my very favorite, like the Christopher Maloney Happy thing was fantastic with Patton Oswalt. But it's, it's so funny because for people who are not fans of comics and or graphic novels, specifically the first season of Doom Patrol, I'm kind of like, just get past the farting donkey. Like, because it's so not linear in normal ways, but because of that, it does stuff like Danny on the street. And it allows it the space to deal with issues that, they are very timely to where we are in the world, but in a way that's not so on the nose and preachy. And that's what, like I've had a number of people talk to me on social media about how much they love that show, specifically when dealing, with Danny and the denizens and being able to watch it with their non-binary kid and not to be like, let's talk about being non-binary, without it having to be only about that thing. So often we talk about story about anyone, whether, if we're talking about LGBTQ community and it always has to be about that being the only thing that makes them a person. And Doom Patrol did a gorgeous job of being we are all human beings. We are all broken in some way or another. And that doesn't make us not worthy of being around or being loved,
Absolutely.
100%.
Well said. Jace.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to talk to Tavine.
Okay.
Excellent.
Because I have never seen such an unexpected uproar after a character who was executed.
Yeah.
People were angry.
We were all angry.
I remember whenever we covered that episode, we were like, I can't believe it was Tavine. Why Tavine?
I know.
When somebody asks, well, what was it about Tavine that you liked so much? It's different for everyone else.
Yeah.
Because some people say, well, I just like Vulcans. Well, I thought she was very striking looking. I thought she was, the serene bit of sanity on the USS Titan bridge. I want to know, what was it about Tavine that appeals to you as an actress? And is there any kind of background to Tavine that maybe you came up with in your headcanon that maybe didn't make it to screen that you could share with us?
Oh, excuse me. There's someone needs a wallet. Okay.
wow.
Like someone needs a wallet.
Story of my life.
Hi, hubby.
I always need a wallet.
Yeah, I know. So someone needs a
My
wallet.
wife knows where my wallet is.
My apologies. It's like,
No, don't worry about it.
so for me, I am not a very kind of Zen person. I mean, I am Zen-ish. I've gotten more Zen as I've gone. The attraction for me to Tavine, once we decided she was a Vulcan, because when I auditioned, that wasn't a decision it hadn't been made yet. It was, I got the script. There was a lieutenant, because I knew who was shooting what and I knew what it was, because they didn't tell you. I can't remember the code name, but they didn't tell you. But by reading it, I said, oh, I think they said it was a science officer. And I'm like, oh, it's a science officer. And it feels a little Vulcan-y. It feels very Spocky. So I was like, well, that's what I'm doing. I'm going to do it. I'm going to tap into this very Zen kind of feeling. And then once we decided, and then we also decided that she would be bald, because we did some research on that first. Terry, I've never, in a role that doesn't have that much screen time and in a larger scope of Picard, it would be so easy for Terry, our showrunner, to be like, whatever, you're this, whatever. And he was so collaborative in a way that I did not expect. I did not expect to come onto a show that had so much history and feel like I was fully part of it in a way that I was, And I think I could speak for both Jin. For Jin, I know Jin definitely, because we've had lunch, and I can't speak for Joseph, but whatever. Yeah. He said it, so I'm going to say yes. So when we decided she would both be bald and she would be Vulcan, I did, the deep dive into Vulcanism, because I think also the easy way to make a Vulcan, and all the Vulcans I had seen other than, Kim Cattrall, like specifically all the female Vulcans I've seen, like everybody who's played Spock, I've had such appreciation for. Mm-hmm. But again, like it gives you your emotional out a little bit because they're human. And so once I started doing deeper research into it, I was like, oh, wait a minute. They feel so much, and then you don't let it out. And so, right. And for me, which I talked over with Terry, I was like, hey, dude, I have an idea. It has no bearing on anything we're doing on set. Like it's not going to change anything. But what if she's bald because she's part Delta? Like, what if she's this? And he's like, all right, then he's like, yeah, let's do it. Let's make her quarter Delta. So for me as an actor, what that gave me specifically, because you've seen it, like it helped to create an even larger struggle emotionally, because I had to determine for myself if I am a quarter Delta, if this came from something, where do the emotions come in? What part of that influences stuff? And so how does that appear, or how do I hold my place on this bridge? So like, it's all like internal acty, whatever, that just made it even that much more compelling. Because
if it came through the eyes, when we were watching your performance, I could tell in your eyes that you had internal conflict. That's why it works so well. That's why I reckon one of the reasons your character resonated so well in the show. Yeah,
I think so. I think so. And it's you just go in to try to support the crew. This family that you've been welcomed into, and so for me as an actor, I always tell myself, my little mantra is, don't try to make it right, make it real. Because if it's real, it'll affect people. If it's real, they'll see it. Yeah. And I think too often, specifically in larger genre shows, when there's such a dedicated fan base, and particularly with Vulcans, there's just the idea that they have no feelings, They have no feelings, and there's like a weird monotone that comes out. And the history of why they have embraced, have embraced the idea of, because Star Trek reflects the world we're in, this idea of kind of Buddhism is because they were so angry, because they were so volatile. Mm-hmm. And so to find that in myself was especially when, I'm saying words to Patrick fucking Stewart. Yeah. It's like
and Amanda Plummer.
Yeah, and just how do you keep it down? But where does it come from? Where does it lie? And how can you add to the truth of this world that you didn't realize until you stepped on the bridge how much has been a part of your life,
right? And
how much people love,
Yeah,
and how much piss farting around is on set in that show, because there's always a legend about the crew always mucking around.
Oh yeah,
same deal.
Yeah,
it's like Terry's like, "Come on, guys, we've got 5 setups to do." Yeah,
it's not so much that, but Frakes. You put Frakes in. You put Frakes and Stashwick together, and it's a good time. It's a good time.
Man. So, is it really cool to work with Stashwick again? Because I know you guys did improv together.
Yeah, he was my improv he was my improv teacher. It was so weird. He had he was an improv guy way before me, and I ended up at his studio. His partner was the one who was my instructor, but he would come back in. So I met him through like an acting class.
Wow.
And then you become friends with people, and I remember the day before I was supposed to go to set, he sent me a Facebook message and said, "Hey, I understand you're on my bridge." And I said, "I'm sorry, what?" Because I hadn't gotten my call sheet yet.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's got to be awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
It was lovely because we hadn't, because as you do on social media platforms, you feel like you have a false intimacy with people because you know about things.
Yeah.
And this was the first time we got to like really sit down in real life and just be like kind of hashing out a bit.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
And, Jace, before I ask my question, do you have another question, or you're both Jace? Jason Gaston?
Yeah, you might want to clarify.
Yeah, I keep forgetting. It's hard working with two Jasons, Steph. You have no idea.
Yeah.
Australian Jason, pretty Jason.
There you go.
There you go.
That works for me. That works for me.
No, Joe, go ahead.
All right, great. So I know you've got your big first convention coming up.
I know.
And I will be meeting you because I will be there. But are you ready? Because a lot of fans are excited for your character, and Star Trek has a way of, though the actor's character died in this season, you can return as a Jeffrey Combs and be in the next Star Trek project as Alien B. You know what I mean? So are you excited for the con and ready to get the fan reception, and B, ready to return as something else in Star Trek?
I am incredibly excited. As I said, I think before we went on air, I'm so excited, but it's also that thing. It's my first time and it feels like a party I've invited people to, and I don't know if they'll show up. So it's that weird thing of like, I'm like, I have a table. And then I go through the thing of like, I grew my hair back. Should I shave my head? Oh my God. What's going to be better for people? What's going to be a better experience? I have been practicing my mind meld, like, so that if we want to take pictures, we can do a mind meld situation. Like, I've been thinking around all of it.
Yeah, let's do that.
That's so sweet to think that you're thinking like that for the fans. That's
lovely.
Because I'm like, people are going to be dressed up as you.
Because if I wanted to go, I'm like, what would I like? I want to give him I want to give him something good. It shouldn't be like, oh yeah, I'm here, man. Whatever, I can't even do it.
I think that says a lot about your nature. I think that you're thinking about those things for the fans. So,
well, I mean, the one thing I can say about this, because of going into all these amazing franchises, is all the people that you meet and how my experience of them has been phenomenally wonderful. And so, I had a little taste of it at the premiere because some of the fans were at the premiere. I had a little taste of it at a fundraiser for Yuri's night at the California Science Center, which was great. So I'm super excited. Like, I'm really excited. I'm really excited for that. to your other question, to your other points.
Yeah.
Yes, I would love to come back in any way, shape, or form. There's been joking by Terry and everybody that Tavine is a sister. I'm like, all right, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, there's
not a twin. Yeah.
you know to Gaston, you know, to Gaston's subtitle.
Oh,
I have received a number of private messages explaining to me where Tavine's Katza could have gone before she got blown up. Like, there's a lot of people with a lot of theories about how Tavine could come back. Like,
Well, it's only logical she would shove that thing somewhere just in case.
Yeah.
you know,
Always have a plan B.
there was, it was like Picard. I remember just talking to Ed and being like, damn it. I was hoping for like a new variation of a Kirk Spock relationship with you and me.
Yeah. That would have been cool. Like,
It'd be interesting though to be a twin though. Have we ever had twin Vulcans, guys?
I don't know.
Jason,
That would be
that's something
Gaston.
new.
Do
Jason?
you think Vulcans would do the rhymey names like humans do? Is it like Tavine and Talene or something like that?
That's what they're talking about. I mean,
If that's the
not
more
going to
hillbilly
name them.
Vulcans, maybe do
yeah.
that.
Well, apparently based on like all of them are T's because it's secret
Paul,
to Paul because originally they had my name as I was Valine in my like I have a picture in my suit and it said V and then it was Valine and then we changed it. So
So go ahead. Oh, okay. Did you guys play Who's the Changeling? Because like in the very beginning, there was infiltration by the Changeling, and it was like, okay, that's the Changeling. We just kept going. So did you guys on Saturday? Which one of you is the Changeling?
we actually no, we didn't. I don't think.
Oh wow!
I don't think we did. I think we just all hoped that none of us were because we just wanted to get to the end. I mean, because when I got hired, they said it would be heavily reoccurring.
Oh.
I knew I was going to be there for 4 episodes. I thought I was, I'm like, I made it to 8, and then as it starts to go, you're like, please don't kill me. Please don't.
That was
I'm toast.
yeah.
Did you know the whole story outline, or were they holding things back? I would assume you just got your sides, right?
Yeah. They were writing as we went. They were doing it kind of old school, which is nice. They were doing it old school TV style where they were writing 2 at a time and we would shoot in blocks. But they were still developing. I mean, according to Matt and Terry, they were considering just shooting a red shirt, and the decision is, and I have to agree with them, even though I hate it, is shooting a red shirt would have not had the emotional punch that executing Tavine did.
Yeah.
Like
What that did in that moment was like
it's better
anything could
storytelling.
happen.
Exactly.
It is because every other character you don't know if they can make it. Because if you're willing to kill off one of the main people on the bridge, anyone could die.
Exactly. And that's the kind of jeopardy you want. I mean, you want to go Game of Thrones, like, who's going to live? Who knows? I mean, you don't want to when you're the actor. You're like, no, man, no.
Man, I want to stay for the whole ride. What's going on?
Your death was definitely the Red Wedding episode of Star Trek, because a lot of people reacted quite shockingly to it.
Yeah.
I loved the villain up until that episode. After Tavine was shot, I was just like, oh, she needs to die.
Right?
Right?
Yeah, seriously. Yeah. She was, oh God, she was so good. She's so good.
Yeah, you got to spend like a little bit of time on set with Amanda.
Yeah.
That must have been an experience for you.
She is. I mean, she is literally just walking creativity. Like, it's just, as an actor, sometimes you feel like I have to go hit my mark. She's just like, there's like just this loose, and you saw it because this was also the character she had become to play Vatic, but there was just such a like, I don't know, let's try. Like, there was such an ease and just a playfulness about her that makes you remember as an actor, like, that's why we do this. Part of the reason why you do this, because it's fun. It's, so.
Yeah. Oh, what a shame that you know, she had to go out the airlock.
I know, right?
I was like, she should have been the main baddie. She was so fun.
I know, that was so crazy. You're like, wait a minute, what?
Yeah, it didn't. The way that whole section unraveled was just like, whoa, this is insane. I think that's probably why it's so beloved. Like, I know the DVD's coming out.
Yeah,
I wish it was going to be out so you can sign my copy because I hadn't done that. But
I know.
You know, yeah, that's
I know. I know. I'm just like, what are things that can be signed? Like, that's the only thing that's like, we have pictures. I had somebody made little Tavines. Somebody like on the internet made little. I actually
cute.
Yeah. Do you mind telling the story about that Tavine? That you did raise money,
and I also
yeah.
So
great.
A guy named Professor Space Brick. Instagram account. He is someone who creates, statues out of Lego bricks.
Right.
And when Picard came out, Terry saw it from Terry, and he put up, and it's not Lego endorsed. They're built from Legos, but they're not like Lego certified or whatever. And he built little tiny custom. Hold on a second. I got one. Hold on.
Oh,
custom
get it.
Oh, look at that. That's so cool.
Oh, yes.
Wow.
That's part of the Brickheads range. That is amazing.
Yeah, it's kind of the Brickheads craze. So a guy named Space Brick, is it Space Bricks? Space Time Bricks, basically made this of all the cast. He made all of the cast. And I was like, I've always wanted an action figure. I'm buying one. So I bought 4, one for myself, and then I had 2. I had extras because I participate in something called Cycle for Survival. And I said, hey, I'm raising money. I'm not riding this year, but I'm raising money. And, anybody who donates, I will, by the time May 31st, I will pull a name from all the people who've donated, and you will get one of these, and I'll sign the thing, and you will get one of these. And then I extended it because we hit our goal, because literally I wasn't sure how much I would ask to raise, and we did it 3 days before it started or something. And so I decided to make my goal. Usually every year my goal is predicated on something that inspires it. And because I had just come through this whole the first season of Picard, I decided to make it after Wolf 359. So I did $3,590.
Oh.
We ended up raising $3,590.59, I think. It was crazy. So yeah, there's one guy, Craig Porter, won it. I emailed him. I've not heard back. So I got one holding, and then I have another one that, as soon as the date came, the entire list went away. So I'm trying to reconstruct, because I have the original list, but I got to go and reconstruct everybody else who donated afterwards so I can figure it out. But
yeah,
they're going out. And then basically, I think he just does them as I did. So I ordered a run of them. I ordered 60 of them to take with me to cons.
Oh,
they are going to sell like hot
cakes,
Stephanie.
Yeah.
They are going to go.
And I decided to make it just a limited thing. I'm going to do 60 of them. I'll sign them. If you make them, you can come back and I'll sign the base.
Joe, if you're there,
I'll get you one.
Yeah, because I'm a big Lego collector.
Are you?
Yeah, he is.
So
he builds a ton. I don't think you've got any behind you. They're probably
they're all in the other room. This is my kind of office, so they're all displayed in the other room. Me and my wife kind of do it together now. It's become a couples thing, which is.
Do you have the typewriter?
No, but we're just starting the Vespa right now. We just finished the Taj Mahal.
Nice.
And I've got a lot of Lego Star Wars, a lot of Lego Indiana Jones, a lot of all the cars and everything. But I found the reason we got into that was based upon stress. It was because I'm in the creative field too, always doing a lot of editing, a lot of filming. And that. I wanted to find something that was opposite from that to deprogram, and I found buying Lego kits with the instructions extremely therapeutic.
Yeah.
So it's just I just got to follow this process. So yeah, that's why we kind of do it.
Yeah, a friend of
first one. Go.
Oh, I was gonna say a friend of mine's kid is a Lego savant. At 5, he was laying in bed just reading, and so they buy him. He just finished the Titanic.
Oh,
they bought him the thing. It's one of those things because they're just He's been building them ever since he's like 4 or 5. I'm like, you should be on Brickmasters.
Is it a bit dark to go? We actually aren't finished yet. This is an extra little submarine you need to now.
Oh, no. That took over we have like a group chat for all the people on the show, and that dominated our group chat so much.
I know. He's the guy that dominated Jason. He was the one that was spamming our chat with blame you, Jason.
It's such a hurtful thing to say.
Oh.
So hurtful.
Oh my goodness. Stephanie, thank you so much for joining us in the Captains Quadrant in section 31.5. This has been an amazing chat. I'm so excited to meet you. You're going to meet Science Officer Teddy, our little mascot. Yeah, he's my personal dog. He's he's a cute little. He's always got a Star Trek uniform. So
the evil,
oh my God,
evil overlord.
Evil overlord.
Our wonderful.
Can I just say though, Stephanie, it was such a delight to talk to you because you never know when you're meeting celebrities, what they're going to be like, whether they're like forced to be there and that. But you're super cool and normal.
Yeah.
So that's probably the best compliment from down under I can say to you.
Well, thank you.
You ever come down and put a snag on the barbie, give you a cold beer?
Oh my God, I'm there. I'm just like, I'm gonna track you all down and be like, so you said you had a couch? I'm gonna be like, Gaston, so you said you had a lot of cats, huh?
Yeah, I think Chyna's here.
All right, thank you so much. We will talk to you soon. And then, is there any other projects that you're gonna?
Oh yes.
Do you want to plug?
Second season of Doom Patrol is coming out sometime.
Yeah.
Or I mean, second half of the 4th season. That's what I meant.
4th season, yeah.
There's nothing that has been confirmed right now. We're trying to see what's going to happen with the writer's strike and the SAG strike.
Yeah, I hear there's some movement, isn't there, of the last couple of days?
Yeah, I mean, they said that the SAG, Fran Drescher, our national president, came out and was like, we've made headway. And then everybody's like, she was like, we're going to do it. I think we're going to make headway on like social media. And then every actor, like celebrity actor, was like, dude, it was supposed to be a media blackout. That is not helping us. That gives your power away.
Oh,
so then it became a thing where everybody wrote a big letter like, dude, we authorized a strike at 98%. Like, this is like actors in general don't give a shit about anything but themselves. I mean, let's be real. Yeah. And I mean, I think we got 47% of our voters actually voted, which sounds really small, except for when you're like, oh, the last like contract we ratified had like 21. So, and it was 97% of them. So, and also we're 160,000 people. So it's, we're in a lot of places.
Yeah.
So we'll see. There's talk that they're going to extend talks to next week. But yeah, I don't know.
Well, let's just hope the writers get what they deserve.
Yeah.
Everyone can get back to work.
Yeah.
Well, I think you to have no time except to be on a set somewhere.
Exactly. I mean, I think a lot of it is, and like this is like me being kind of practical about it, is a lot of it is all these studios and producers being like, we spend so much money and now we have to balance our balance sheet. Like now we have to even out our balance sheet. And the writers going on strike was really good cover because for like the last year, they've been firing people and like not writers, but executives And so I feel like once they get to the 90-day mark, which is where most contracts can be canceled force majeure and they don't have to pay penalties. It's like clearing the slate and starting over again. So I have a feeling that we will be back up probably by the end of summer, I imagine. I'm hoping.
Hope so.
I am hoping.
Yeah.
But,
just,
you never know.
I hate seeing people out of work, but it's for a very important reason. And I think it was an inevitable because the industry had such a sea change over the last 10 years. You know, they hadn't ironed out all this stuff. So it was kind of, it was going to come to a loggerhead at some point.
Yeah. I met my husband during the last writer's strike. So
there you go.
There you go.
Perfect.
Fantastic.
That's such a.
I mean,
he's a good Canadian kid too, eh?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. But it's an interesting thing to be like, because we don't often think like people, because everything's so celebrity. And I remember one of my acting teachers being like, dude, what you do is a blue collar job. It is physical labor in certain respects. And then you get to puff it all up and be like, look, but they're long days, and specifically, our ADs and just, it's also one of those things that we're just not an industry, writers, actors. If you're lucky, you're working consistently, but you work and then you don't work for a long time, and then you work, and then you don't work, like, and it's up and down, and so you got to get paid, hopefully accordingly, because if you can't make the stretches where you don't have work go, then eventually you're like, fuck this noise, I'm not going to do it, I don't know. Yeah. But anyway, it's very nice because it means that I can go to New Jersey and not be like, oh God, like I'm gonna, I'm missing out on something.
Exactly.
Well, I'm going to be honest. I hope there gets to a point one day where you're walking through airports with a hat on and sunnies.
I hope so.
You're getting harassed too much.
Yeah.
Because I think
thank you.
After spend an hour, I think you're absolutely fabulous. I'm going to be watching your career even more so now.
Oh,
rooting.
God, thank you.
I'll make sure the entire
of
country of Australia is rooting for you, Stephanie. All right?
I love it. I love it.
There we go.
Thank you so much for having me. I really had a great time. I really had a great time. And Joe, I'll see you next week.
I'll see you next week. Absolutely. Yep. Thank you so much. Check out SpectrumSanctorum.net for all of our podcast merch. We have an entire merch store ready to give you all the things that you loved about our podcast. And get notified on all of our socials: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and our Spectrum Sanctorum merch store. Follow us today and be sure to hit that bell when you're watching our YouTube videos so you can be notified of when a new episode releases.